Tonight, we're traveling to the very beginning, not to castles or golden halls, but to a time before time, when the cosmos was nothing but void and possibility. You'll drift through the entire saga of Norse mythology, from the first meeting of fire and ice in the great emptiness, to the rise of Asgard, to the twilight that becomes eternal dawn. You'll meet gods who traded eyes for wisdom, wolves that chase the sun, and a tree so vast it holds 9 entire worlds in its branches. If this kind of storytelling helps you rest, feel free to like the video and subscribe, but only if it actually brings you peace. And let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. It's strangely comforting to know who else is out there falling asleep to the same ancient tales. So, dim the lights, let the Norse winds whisper. Let the myths of the North unfold, and let's begin. Before time had learned to count its moments, before space had discovered its boundaries, there was Ginnungagap, the great void, not darkness, for darkness implies the absence of light, and light had not yet been conceived. Not emptiness, for emptiness suggests a container that once held something. Ginnungagap was the profound silence that exists before the first word of creation is spoken. In this primordial stillness, 2 realms began to stir. To the south, Muspelheim breathed with gentle flames that had never known fuel. To the north, Niflheim exhaled mists that had never known warmth. These ancient forces began their eternal dance across the void, fire and ice moving toward their destined meeting. Where they met, something miraculous occurred. Not with thunder or lightning, but with the quiet tenderness of dew forming on morning grass. Droplets began to gather in the heart of Ginnungagap, each one carrying within it the potential for all that would ever be. From this meeting of warmth and cold, the first drops of existence began to fall. Ymir emerged from these drops, the first giant condensed from the very essence of possibility itself. He was vast as continents that did not yet exist, his breath deep as oceans yet to be born. But even Ymir needed sustenance, and so came out Humla, the primordial cow, whose udders flowed with rivers of nourishment. 4 streams of milk sustained Ymir as he slept the deep sleep of creation. Meanwhile, out Humla began to lick the ice that surrounded them, her warm tongue working patiently. On the first day, hair appeared in the ice. On the second day, a head emerged. On the third day, Buri stepped free from his icy cradle, grandfather of gods, first of the divine lineage. From Buri came Bor, and from Bor came 3 brothers, Odin, Vili, and V. These architects of possibility looked upon sleeping Ymir and saw not an enemy, but a foundation upon which all future wonders might be built. For creation requires sacrifice. Transformation demands that what was must give way to what could be. The death of Ymir was not murder, but metamorphosis. From his body, the earth would be formed. From his blood, the seas. From his bones, the mountains. From his hair, the forests. From his skull, the dome of heaven itself. And from his flesh, the soil that would one day cradle the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. As Ymir's life force flowed into the foundation of all that would be, the brothers began their work of creation. The void was no longer empty, the silence no longer complete. In the heart of what had once been Ginnungagap, the seed of the greatest tree in all existence began to stir. The tree of life. From the sacrifice of the primordial giant, Yggdrasil began to grow. This cosmic tree was so vast that its branches cradled entire realms, so deep that its roots drank from the wells of fate itself. The tree grew slowly, establishing foundations that would support the weight of 9 entire worlds. Yggdrasil stands at the center of all existence. Its presence so fundamental that without it, the 9 realms would drift apart like islands in an endless sea. Its trunk spans distances that would take lifetimes to traverse, its bark holding the texture of ancient wisdom. Its leaves whisper with the voices of all who have ever lived, and its branches sway with the breath of destiny itself. 3 mighty roots anchor this cosmic tree. The first stretches toward the well of Erd, where the 3 Norns sit in eternal council. Erd knows what was, Verdangdi sees what is, and schooled glimpses what shall be. Day by day, they draw water from their sacred well and sprinkle it upon Yggdrasil's roots, keeping the great tree healthy and strong. The second root reaches toward Mimir's well, that spring of wisdom so profound that even Odin sacrificed his eye to drink from its waters. Here, the severed head of Mimir speaks prophecies and shares knowledge that spans all the realms. The water is so clear that it reflects not just images, but truths, not just faces, but souls. The third root delves into Hvergelmir, the bubbling spring from which all cold rivers flow. Around this well coils Ni-Hggr, the dragon who gnaws eternally at the root, representing the constant presence of entropy even in the heart of life itself. Upon Yggdrasil's highest branches perches an eagle, all-seeing, whose keen eyes survey all 9 realms. Between its eyes sits a hawk called Vervgonur. Scurrying up and down the trunk runs Ratatoskr, the squirrel, carrying messages between the eagle above and the dragon below. ensuring no part of the cosmic tree remains isolated. 4 stags wander among the branches: Dane, Devlin, Dunair, and Dura Ara. They feed upon the tree's leaves. They're grazing a necessary part of the cosmic cycle, preventing any part from growing too wild or strong. From this great tree, the 9 realms hang like fruit. Asgard gleams among the highest branches, realm of the Gear, its halls catching light that seems to come from within the tree itself. Midgard hangs at the tree's heart, encircled by the ocean, where Jarmungandr lies with his tail in his mouth. This is the world of humans, protected by the gods, yet separate from them. Jotunheim stretches wild among the outer branches, realm of giants and primal forces. Alfheim shimmers with ethereal light, home to light elves, whose beauty is brighter than the sun. Vanaheim remains mysterious, homeland of the Vanir gods of fertility and prosperity. Deep among the roots, Nidavellir spreads its workshops, where dark elves forge wonders that surpass divine craftsmanship. Helheim lies in the deepest shadows, where hell rules over those who die of sickness or age. Muspelheim burns eternal, realm of fire giants, while Niflheim provides the cooling balance of mists and ice. Each world breathes with the others, connected by the tree's circulation of sap and spirit. What happens in one realm echoes through all others, for Yggdrasil ensures no world stands alone. In this infinite tree, extraordinary beings weave their destinies, their choices rippling through the cosmic wood like wind through an endless forest. The guardians of Asgard. In the golden halls of Asgard dwell the Geir, gods who emerged from Ymir's sacrifice to become architects of order in a cosmos that knew only chaos. At their heart stands Odin, the Allfather, whose very name whispers of wind that carries both inspiration and destruction across the 9 realms. Odin embodies profound contradictions: king yet wanderer, warrior yet poet, creator yet destroyer. He represents the restless spirit that drives all seekers of truth beyond comfortable boundaries. His appearance shifts with his purposes. Sometimes the magnificent ruler with blazing eye and flowing beard. Sometimes a bent old man in weathered cloak, seeking wisdom in unlikely places. The loss of his eye, traded to Mimir for wisdom, marks him as one who paid the ultimate price for knowledge. With his remaining eye, Odin sees not just surfaces, but deeper meanings, connections in the great web of fate that binds existence together. Upon his shoulders perch Hugin and Munin, thought and memory, ravens whose wings carry them across all realms each day, bringing news of every joy and sorrow. Beneath him stands Sleipnir, the 8-legged horse, swifter than thought. able to carry his rider across physical distances and conceptual barriers between different states of being. In Odin's hand rests Gungnir, the spear that never misses, embodying inevitability itself. Odin's greatest treasure is his knowledge of the runes discovered during his 9-day ordeal, hanging from Yggdrasil's branches, pierced by his own spear. Without food or water, he hung in agony until the universe's secrets revealed themselves as 18 sacred symbols. Each rune contains a fundamental principle of existence, a key to understanding and manipulating reality's forces. Beside Odin stands Frigg, his wife and queen, whose wisdom complements his own. Where Odin's knowledge comes from restless seeking, Frigg's understanding flows from deep intuition and patient observation. She spins the threads of fate on her great wheel, her work becoming part of the tapestry the Norns weave at Yggdrasil's base. Their son, Balder, shines with light so pure it seems to emanate from his being, representing innocence and beauty that makes existence worth preserving. His presence reminds the gods what they fight to protect, the goodness that justifies their struggles. Thor, Odin's son by the earth goddess, embodies different divine power. Where Odin represents wisdom and magic, Thor represents strength and protection, willingness to stand between innocence and those who would harm them. His hammer, Mjolnir, is more than weapon. It symbolizes divine justice, a tool for maintaining boundaries that keep chaos from overwhelming order. Thor's approach is refreshingly direct. When giants threaten Midgard, he doesn't seek to outwit them, but travels to their realm and challenges them to combat. His battles are necessary maintenance, like a gardener pruning diseased branches. Yet Thor is not merely warrior, but protector of common folk, the god who answers farmers' prayers and helps travelers in wilderness. The integration of Vanir gods into the Gear community represents great diplomatic achievement. The war between these divine tribes could have torn the universe apart, but instead led to synthesis that made both stronger. Injar brought mastery of winds and seas. Freyr contributed knowledge of fertility and abundance, and Freya added expertise in cider magic. This divine community functions not as hierarchy, but as council, where each member contributes unique perspective. Tyr offers understanding of justice and law. Heimdall provides unparalleled vigilance. Vidar brings quiet strength and patience. Their halls are not mere residences, but expressions of essential natures, places where divine and mortal realms intersect. Yet, even in their glory, the gods carry knowledge that their reign is not eternal. They know of prophecies speaking of Ragnarok, the twilight of gods, when their ordered cosmos will face its greatest test. This knowledge doesn't paralyze them, but motivates them to make each day count, to establish principles that will survive their own passing. The fragile balance. Among the Gear walks Loki, whose presence embodies eternal tension between order and chaos, between comfort of the known and necessity of change. The shapeshifter, silver-tongued catalyst of transformation, moves through Asgard like a question mark given flesh, challenging assumptions and ensuring divine order never becomes so rigid it loses capacity for renewal. Loki is neither purely good nor evil, but something more complex and necessary. He prevents stagnation, asks uncomfortable questions, pushes against boundaries to test their strength. His relationship with Odin runs deeper than friendship, bound by oaths sworn in creation's earliest days when cosmos was young and malleable. Loki's shape-changing reflects his nature as transformation agent. He has appeared as mare bearing Sleipnir, as salmon slipping through consequences' nets, as fly buzzing around important conversations. Each transformation teaches him about existence's nature, gives insights his fixed-form companions cannot achieve. The gods' relationship with Loki is complicated by their need for his gifts, even as they fear his unpredictability. Time and again, Loki's cleverness saved them from disasters of their own making. When they made rash bargains with giants, Loki found ways to honor agreements letter while avoiding their spirit. The turning point came with his children, born of union with giantess Angrboda. Fenrir, the wolf, grew with supernatural speed and strength. Jormungandr, the serpent, expanded until he could encircle Midgard. Hel, half living and half dead, ruled over a realm outside normal life-death cycles. Prophecies surrounding these children filled gods with dread. Seers spoke of Fenrir devouring Odin, Jormungandr poisoning the sky, Hel releasing armies of the dead. The gods faced impossible choice. They couldn't kill children, yet couldn't ignore growing dangers. Jormungandr they cast into Midgard's surrounding ocean, where he grew until grasping his own tail. Hel they sent to rule the realm of the dead. But Fenrir presented more complex problems, too intelligent for simple banishment, too powerful for easy containment. The gods chose deception's path. They challenged Fenrir to test strength against various bonds, framing it as games. Iron chains snapped like spider webs. Magical fetters proved no more effective than rope. Finally, they commissioned dark elves to create Gleipnir from 6 impossible things: cat's footfall sound, woman's beard, mountains, roots, bears, sinews, fishes, breath, and birds' spittle. Gleipnir appeared as silken ribbon, soft to touch. When God presented it as Fenrir's next challenge, the wolf's intelligence sensed deception. He agreed to binding only if one god placed their hand in his mouth as pledge of good faith. Tyr, god of justice, stepped forward, understanding full implications. As Justice's god, he knew their plan was fundamentally unjust, betraying trust and violating principles he represented. Yet he understood necessity of protecting Cosmos from destruction Fenrir might bring. When Fenrir discovered he couldn't break Gleipnir and gods wouldn't honor their pledge, his howl of rage echoed across all realms. As his jaws severed Tyr's hand, something fundamental changed between order and chaos, between gods and forces they sought to control. Loki, witnessing his son's betrayal, began final transformation from ambiguous ally to implacable enemy. The gods had chosen fear over trust, deception over honesty, planting seeds of their own destruction. During this period, Balder began experiencing dreams of his own death. Visions so vivid, they left him shaken. Frigg, learning of her son's dreams, traveled throughout all realms, extracting oaths from every living thing that they would never harm Balder. Fire swore not to burn him. Water promised not to drown him. Metals vowed not to cut him. The thoroughness of Frigg's quest seemed to provide complete protection. Gods even made games of throwing weapons at Balder, laughing as projectiles harmlessly bounced away. But Frigg's quest contained one oversight: mistletoe, too insignificant for her to bother requesting its oath. Loki discovered this gap and crafted his plan. He approached H.R. Baldra's blind brother, who stood apart from the games, offering to help him participate by guiding his throw. Loki placed a mistletoe dart in H.R.'s hand and guided his aim with deadly precision. The dart struck Balder's heart. The god of light fell without sound, his radiance fading like extinguished candle. The impossible had happened. Grief that followed was unlike anything Cosmos had experienced. Hermod rode to Helheim to negotiate Balder's return. Hel agreed to release him only if every living thing would weep for him. The response was overwhelming until messengers found one figure who refused: an old giantess named Dukai, actually Loki in disguise. When gods learned of Cake's refusal and realized their efforts had failed, grief transformed into rage. They pursued Loki relentlessly, finally binding him with chains made from his own son's entrails. Above his head, they suspended a serpent whose venom dripped constantly onto his face, causing agony beyond description. The binding of Loki marked the end of an era. Where once there had been dynamic tension, now there was open hostility. The cosmos itself sensed this change as seasons grew harsher, winters longer, and bonds holding realms in harmony began to weaken. The inevitable twilight. Loki's binding began Fimbulwinter, the great winter preceding all things' end. 3 winters would follow without summer's relief, each harsher than the last, stripping away comfort and security that had defined the Golden Age. The first winter brought unusual severity. Crops failed across Midgard as frost came early and stayed late. But it wasn't just physical hardship that marked this winter as different. Something darker stirred in hearts of mortals and immortals alike. Social bonds weakened under pressure of scarcity and fear. The second winter brought moral orders breakdown. Ancient laws and customs lost their power to compel obedience. Oaths were broken without shame. Sacred bonds severed without consequence. Violence became commonplace as law and tradition's restraints lost effectiveness. The third winter brought complete collapse of old order. The sun grew pale and distant, its path across sky increasingly erratic. 2 wolves that had long pursued sun and moon began closing distance to their prey. Skoll chased the sun while Hati pursued the moon, their eternal hunt providing day and night's rhythm. But now, as cosmic order weakened, the wolves gained ground. The sun's chariot moved more slowly, its horses showing exhaustion. The moon's path became irregular, sometimes disappearing for days. Time itself began breaking down as celestial bodies that had regulated it started faltering. Yggdrasil began showing distress. Its leaves yellowed and fell. Its branches creaked ominously. At the tree's base, the Norns found their work increasingly difficult. Threads they spun grew brittle, patterns became chaotic, and water from Ord's well grew murky and bitter. In his torment, Loki felt approaching culmination of his plans. The venom had become transformation catalyst, burning away his last connections to the gods, purifying his hatred into something crystalline and absolute. Each drops sent tremors through earth, reminders that his rage continued growing. His children also felt approaching transformation. Fenrir had grown larger during imprisonment, his strength increasing beyond prediction. Jarmungandr began stirring from dormancy, his movements causing increasingly violent storms. Hel found her realm crowding with violent deaths as Fimbulwinter's moral collapse sent more souls to final rest. More ominously, ancient dishonored dead began gathering, whispering of Naglfar. The ship being built from dead fingernails and toenails. When complete, it would carry an army of the dead back to the living world for final battle. In Asgard, gods watched developments with growing alarm, but also grim resignation. They had always known Ragnarok would come. Prophecies had been clear. What they hadn't anticipated was how their own actions would accelerate its arrival. Odin threw himself into preparation with renewed intensity. He gathered greatest heroes into Valhalla, training them for final battle. He sought every scrap of wisdom that might prove useful. Thor focused on immediate threats, making regular journeys to battle increasingly bold giants and monsters. As Fimbulwinter reached climax, signs of the end became impossible to ignore. The sun showed dark spots. The moon changed color to ominous red. Stars began falling like tears. Bifrost showed strain, its colors becoming muted and unstable. Ancient things that had slumbered since world's youth began waking. Dragons stirred in their hordes. Giants cracked and shifted. Mountains groaned as earth prepared to split apart. Then Heimdall's horn sounded across all realms. Jallarhorn's clear note cut through chaos, announcing final battles beginning. The sound broke last restraints holding chaos in check. Loki felt his bonds snap, chains crumbling as cosmic forces that empowered them failed. His roar of freedom shook heaven's pillars. Fenrir, hearing his father's cry, strained against Gleipnir with renewed fury until the impossible chain parted. Jarmungandr began thrashing with such violence that seas boiled. The final battle was about to begin on Vigrid's plain, where gods and giants, heroes and monsters, order and chaos would meet in combat that would shake reality's foundations and determine what, if anything, would survive to see a new age's dawn. The eternal dawn. On Vigrid's vast plain, the final confrontation reached its climax. Gods and giants engaged in battles that would determine existence's future. Each weapon clash sent shockwaves through reality's fabric. Each cry echoed across dimensions, witnessing such concentrated fury. Odin faced Fenrir in combat, embodying eternal struggle between wisdom and raw power. The Allfather fought with skill accumulated over countless ages, but Fenrir had grown beyond prediction during imprisonment. The battle was brief but decisive. Odin's spear found its mark, but Fenrir's jaws closed around the god's head with fate's finality. Thor faced Jarmungandr in confrontation that shook Earth's foundations. Each hammer blow created thunderclaps heard across all realms. The serpent responded with venom so potent it poisoned the air. Thor's hammer crushed the serpent's skull, but Jarmungandr's final breath released concentrated venom that overwhelmed even Thor's constitution. The protector managed only 9 steps before poison claimed him. Freyr, having traded away his sword for love, faced Surtur with only courage as a weapon. The Lord of Muspelheim came wreathed in star-hot flames, his fire sword cutting through reality itself. As Freyr fell, Surtur raised his blade and brought it down on the world itself, severing connections that held realms together. Tear-faced Garm, in battle, representing final confrontation between law and lawlessness. Both bore scars of previous encounters, fighting with desperate intensity of those knowing this would be their last battle. When both fell in each other's arms, justice itself seemed to fade from the universe. Heimdall and Loki met in combat, as much philosophical as physical, eternal watchmen facing eternal catalyst. Their battle raged across the burning plain until both fell, pierced by each other's blades, ending the dynamic balance that had driven the universe since creation. As gods fell, one by one, Surtur's flames spread across all realms with inexorable determination. The fire consumed not just matter, but the concepts and principles that had structured reality. Asgard's halls crumbled to ash. Midgard burned as flames swept its surface. One by one, the 9 realms succumbed. Alfheim's beauty vanished instantly. Jotunheim's landscapes reduced to embers. Even Helheim filled with light as Ending's flames reached Death's domain. Yggdrasil itself began to burn. Its mighty trunk charred and cracked, its branches withered and fell. Yet deep within its heartwood, protected by ancient bark, a spark of life remained untouched, the essential principle of existence preserved for when it would be needed again. As Yggdrasil fell, the cosmos collapsed inward. The sun, finally caught by Skoll, was devoured, plunging existence into darkness. The moon followed, consumed by Hati. Stars fell like rain, each one adding light to the conflagration, consuming everything that had ever been. Earth began sinking beneath boiling ocean waves. The seas themselves were on fire, transformed to steam that rose to join burning worlds' smoke. The distinction between elements broke down as everything returned to undifferentiated state from which it first emerged. In this ultimate dissolution, profound silence fell across existence's ruins. Not death's silence, but potential's silence. The deep, quiet, preceding all creation. In this silence, something new began to stir. From burned world's ashes, a new earth emerged. It rose from waters slowly, greener and more fertile than the old, unmarked by ancient battles' scars. Its fields were ready for planting, though no seeds were sown. Its rivers ran clear, though no rain had fallen. Hidden within Yggdrasil's burning trunk, 2 humans had survived everything's end. El and El, Razor, life and eager for life, emerged to find themselves inheritors of a renewed world. They had been sustained by morning dew from the world tree's leaves, nourishment so pure it preserved their bodies and souls through transformation. These survivors carried memory of the old world and hope of the new. They remembered gods and giants' stories, heroes and monsters' tales, great dramas across 9 realms. But they also carried wisdom from witnessing endings, understanding that every conclusion contains new beginnings. Seed. Some gods had survived, not through avoiding death, but transcending it. VR emerged, carrying his father's wisdom without his burdens. Vali brought Justice's memory without old grudges' weight. More Eye and Magni appeared with their father's hammer, but wielded it as construction tool rather than war weapon. Most miraculous, Baldur returned from Helheim, his radiance undimmed by long sojourn among the dead. With him came Hr, the brothers reconciled at last. Ancient tragedy transformed into new understanding of forgiveness and redemption. These surviving gods gathered in Irevala, where Asgard once stood, but didn't attempt rebuilding old halls. Instead, they sat in council on grass, discussing not how to rule, but how to serve the new world. How to nurture growth already manifesting around them. Above them, a new sun began shining. This was the old sun's daughter, more beautiful and radiant than her mother. Her light was gentler, but more penetrating, illuminating not just surfaces, but inner natures, revealing connections binding all existence in mutual dependence and support. As the new world settled into patterns, LF and LF Rosser began repopulating Earth. Their children were born free from ancient conflicts, able to develop new relationships with surrounding divine forces. These new humans carried memory of triumph and tragedy, but weren't bound by past mistakes. Giants too found their place in new order, no longer civilization's enemies. The forces they represented were integrated into cosmic harmony rather than opposed to it. The eternal conflict between order and chaos was resolved through synthesis into something greater than either could achieve alone. Yggdrasil grew again, both same tree and different one. Its roots still reach toward wisdom and fate's wells, but those wells now flowed with clearer water, reflecting new possibilities, light rather than ancient conflicts, shadows. The tree's branches still supported multiple realms, but these were realms of cooperation rather than competition. Stories told in this new age spoke not of battles between good and evil, but of different existence aspects. Dance. Forces creating beauty through interaction. New heroes were gardeners, cultivating growth, teachers sharing wisdom, healers mending what was broken. Yet the new world didn't forget the old. Stories of Odin's wisdom quest, Thor's protection, Baldur's sacrifice and return were preserved as living wisdom, continuing to guide and inspire. Past mistakes were remembered not as shame sources, but as lessons learned, stepping stones toward greater understanding. In deep places, the old world's bones rested peacefully, their substance transformed into foundation for new life's growth. ASGARD's ashes became soil for new gardens. Ancient battles, remnants, became minerals, nourishing new growth. Old losses, tears, became springs, watering new hope. The great cycle turned, as it always had and would. The end became beginning, twilight became dawn, and the story that seemed concluded revealed itself as merely first chapter in an even greater tale. The cosmos hadn't been destroyed, but transformed, not ended, but renewed. Not diminished, but expanded into possibilities the old age could never have imagined. In this eternal dawn, where every moment held new discoveries' promise, and every breath carried new creation's potential, the universe settled into growth and change, rhythm honoring both stability and transformation. Past lessons were preserved, future hopes nurtured, and the present moment celebrated as the point where all possibilities converged into existence's miracle itself. The Norse mythology story, beginning in Gingop's void and progressing through creation, conflict and destruction, ages, revealed its ultimate truth. Every ending is also beginning, every death transformation, every twilight prelude to new dawn. In Yggdrasil's heart, in new children's laughter, in renewed sun's light, the eternal story continued, forever ending and beginning, forever dying and being reborn into new forms of beauty, wisdom, and wonder.